What up, my people? Do me a favor, please. Hit that like button down there. That'd be very much appreciated. Doesn't affect you in any way, but it very much helps me. Also, make sure you check out DNKKnives.com. Great company, great people, great website, and they're steadily working on getting more and more inventory every day. They also accept Sezzle, and you can get 10% off using this coupon code behind the edge 10. And also, DNK, Mr. Don Farmer, has his own YouTube channel. So that is also awesome. Go over and check him out and give him some support. He is a pillar of the community. If you would like to support the channel, there's a link to Patreon in the description, or you can join the My People channel membership, where you have my undying gratitude, and you will be able to participate in the membership-only giveaways or the Patreon-only giveaways. Also, make sure you're subscribed so you can be involved in the regular giveaways that I do quite often. Today, we're going to talk about Chunky Little Beast, as the thumbnail implies. This used to be a very popular knife, and kind of still is, but they're getting increasingly hard to get. This is the Artisan Cutlery Proponent. This is the small version. There is a crap ton of versions of this knife. Larger titanium frame lock, a small titanium frame lock, a G10 liner lock, the copper liner lock, just so many different versions. One that is a little lighter than this one, I believe. Let me rephrase that. This is heavy as hell because of the copper, but one that is scaled down as far as thickness, I believe. You have a 3-inch D2 blade and a 4-inch exactly handle. So it is 7 inches overall. It was designed by Dirk Pinkerton, which, you know, this thing screams his design. And it basically was designed to be a self-defense tool. First, right off the bat, one of the things that draws me to this knife is the massive hardware on this thing. You got these big, giant, flathead screws all over this thing, which I kind of like a lot. So you can just use a regular old flathead to tighten this stuff if need be. You have a spanner on one side of the pivot. And this is kind of a bad thing. There's no slot to tighten the pivot. What I do is just use a small flathead, stick it in that groove there, and it turns as needed. I don't have a smaller, thinner flathead handy without digging in the toolbox, but big standoffs, also cool. Big, giant clip that actually works pretty well, nice and tight, and this giant thumb stud that is also a flathead like the other hardware. This thing just is just incredibly heavy duty built. It is flipper and thumb stud deployment. It is riding on bearings, and it has a steel liner that has no relief. I could do without the flipper tab. Sorry, guys. I'm trying to smoke a cigarette and talk at the same time, and apparently I'm just not going to be able to do that. And I apologize, guys. Let me just flick that on out of here. All right, now English words. Let's spit them out. Also, that's a thing that's kind of neat. Is these come with a pin that you can put right there, and it essentially turns it into a fixed blade with a pivot. I would not ever say it is as strong as a fixed blade, because it 100% is not, but it would make it damn near impossible to close the knife or fail the knife in any way. The frame lock version of this also has that, and I like the frame lock a lot. I don't have one of those, obviously, but this copper one is pretty sweet. I like it much better than the G10 version. I think there's a carbon fiber version. It does make it heavy, but man, it just feels substantial and it feels great. You have this very aggressive Warncliffe that, even though it's 167 thousandths blade stock, it is quite good at cutting. And I will prove that right now. And this is the factory edge. You can do curls with it. And I think that's pretty sweet. And it's not exactly super thin behind the edge, but it tapers down drastically. It has a very drastic taper towards the edge, and it gets fairly thin, while still maintaining that very robust, thick blade stock, which I love. This thing, like I said, was designed as a self-defense apparatus, but it is an absolute beast as a work knife. Here's a couple other work knives that are just tanks, built like tanks. You have a frame lock, liner lock, liner lock. Titanium in this case, this feels very substantial. This feels very substantial. And they are very substantial, and they're great knives. But man, for $100 bill, this thing is just, it feels bulletproof. Feels like it gives you a lot of confidence in your cutting. The jimping is very functional and very good. This knife would probably kind of suck with gloves on because of the nature of how much room you have without gloves, but I think it would still be good enough that you can get all 4 fingers on there. It is quite comfortable, and I have to say, man, this is an absolute winner. I do not understand why they discontinued it. Maybe they quit selling them after they sold so many, because it was quite popular at one time. Let's get a weight on it, because I want to guess and say this thing weighs 250 pounds, but I could be wrong. 8.8 ounces out of a 3-inch knife. Let's see what a full tie, 5.6. So that gives you an idea. Full size knife, 5.4. So 8.8 ounces is quite heavy, but I think it's justified. I really do. This thing is a cutting machine. It is very aggressive when breaking down cardboard. Perfect for opening packages. The Warncliffe just does it. You know what I mean? Basically, it was a longer knife. They broke the blade off, and they're like, you know what? It still fucking works. So let's use it. I like it a lot. I'm gonna try to see if I can find a one of the frame lock versions, titanium frame lock versions. In this case, the D2 blade doesn't bother me at all. This thing is, it performs just fine. The grinds aren't great. The edge grind, though, is a little wonky on this side, but the rest of the grind looks pretty good. Your termination looks good. Got a sharpening choil. Yeah, you can't ask for any more. Could have done without the flipper tab. That thing just, is in the way, because it's not a very good flipper, because it's a small knife and handle, so you have to kind of push down to flick it out. It works, but it makes it uncomfortable. It is a brilliant reverse flicker, and it shines most at thumb flick. Again, action is great. This thing would have been great even if it was on washers. Everybody knows I don't particularly care for bearings when it comes to a work knife, but it works just fine. No big deal. You can't have everything you want all the time. And in my case, you can't have everything you want pretty much ever. The clip is kind of ugly, but it does work. I like it. Again, they could probably did without the flipper. Could have put a pivot on there that you could use a Torx bit or any other kind of normal tool on. But otherwise, this guy's pretty much perfect. It's a great knife. Let me know in the comments if you guys have any experience with this knife, how you like it. Do you use it a lot? Has it held up well? I'd be willing to bet, a paycheck that these are pretty freaking hard to break or beat the shit out of or anything like that. All right, guys. That's all I got for you on this one. Make sure you're good to each other, love each other, and remember life is short. So, no reason to be a fucking cunt. Later.